5 o'clock, October the 8th, 2018. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This meeting of Nacogdoches Planning and Zoning. The first item on the agenda is approval of minutes to consider and take action for the minutes from September 10th, 2018 regular session. I'll recuse myself as I was not here.
I so move, we accept the minutes.
I'll second.
And necessary correction.
All in favor?
I move.
A motion carried.
And you seconded.
Ken. The next item on the agenda is a public hearing to be held to consider a request and take action for approval of a plat for Kenbrook North Subdivision, Section 3, replat of lots 5 and 9, Block 10, generally located at 1822 Cherrybrook Drive.
Good evening, Leo Mente, Planning Director. The case before here is a request for a plat located on 1822 Cherrybrook Drive. Let me go ahead and so I have a location map showing the two sites. One of them is located on 1822 Cherrybrook, and the other one fronts Ridgebrook Drive. The applicant owns all the two lots and plans to combine these two lots into a single family residential lot. So a little bit of a location of this lot. It's about probably a little over 1,000 feet from the loop, and it's along Cherrybrook Drive and Ridgebrook Drive, and it's way within the city limits. It's currently zoned R1, which allows for single family use. On site, we currently have a single family home, and there's an accessory building on site which fronts the other street, which is the Ridgebrook Drive. Go ahead and show this an aerial photo showing the location on site. It's a well-developed subdivision with houses within the subdivision. Most of these houses have accessory buildings as well. I think currently the house is not being inhabited by any resident. I think it's still undergoing some remodeling or some modifications. And the applicant has informed city staff that he plans to live in here permanently once all the modifications are done. I have a picture here showing the site. This is from Cherrybrook Drive. And then I will pause. I'll just leave it here. So it's a two-lot subdivision in a residential neighborhood. Like I said earlier, it's fronts two streets. Per our zoning regulations, the minimum lot size requirement for an R1 zone is 8,250 square feet. But combining these two lots together, we have over 39,000 square feet. So it meets the zoning requirements. The site in question has all the utilities on site. It's accessible from both streets. It is owned by one owner, and he doesn't plan on building a second house on site. So it's going to be a one single, two lots being combined into one. It made our zoning requirement. City engineering and city planning staff looked at it, and we believe there are no issues with the plats with regards to utility and access to the site. There's no floodplain map shown because no part of this property lies within the city floodplain zones. We did send out notification to 18 notices to property owners within the 200-foot notification, as shown here. Nobody responded in opposition or in favor of this plat. Per staff's recommendation, we believe this plat does not pose any adverse impact on surrounding properties, and we believe it conforms to the zoning and subdivision regulations in the city's code of ordinances. We have reviewed it, and we believe the plat is it's in conformance to all our regulations, and so we are confident to recommend approval of it. This plat is it's in a residential neighborhood, and so per our city regulation, it has to come to the PNZ for final approval. But we, from city staff, believe it meets all the requirements, and so that is why it has to go to the public notification process. So this will be my presentation to an end, and I'll be willing to answer any questions that you may have concerning this plat.
Any questions for Mr. Manti?
I don't have any.
All right, thank you, Mr. Manti. This is a public hearing. Anybody wishing to speak for or against may come forward and air any grievances.
I'm Jeff Opperman with Opperman Surveying Company. We provided the survey of this property and the subdivision plat. This is Mike Kennan and Dr. Mary Barnett, owners of the property. And at this time, we don't have anything other than we are in affirmative for the subdivision. At this time, we'll entertain any questions that the commission might have.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Opperman or the landowners?
I don't see any.
I don't either at this point.
Yeah.
Okay, if it's
Thank
okay
you.
with the commissioners, we'll take a seat and be glad to answer any relative questions from the audience.
Certainly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, come on, please, come on up. If you'd state your name for the record, please.
My name is John Cook. I live on Ridgebrook Drive. And the only question I had is not about joining the property or anything. It's the fact that there's a big red barn on, and about the how that would affect the value of the properties around. And I'm not saying it would or wouldn't, but that's the only issue I have with it.
All right, but Mr. Manti, you have any input on that?
Well, well, thanks for the question. This subdivision came about as a result of the big red barn. The applicant actually built a red barn on the side, on the southern part of this plat,
Originally
facing,
lot 9.
facing Ridgebrook.
Okay.
And per our city regulations, we don't regulate building materials. We don't regulate colors of building. But the only issue we had with the applicant was the building was built without a permit. And apparently, we met with him. He was very cooperative. And what happened was he did contract it out to a contractor in Louisiana. And he thought he had done all the process, which most contractors do. But in talking to the applicant, he realized that his contractors didn't come to the city to get a permit. And so we are going to deal with him with regards to any penalty that comes with not having a permit for a building. But with regards to the red building, we don't regulate color. Every accessory building on site, every home on site can have an accessory structure. And in this case, I believe that combining those two lots will give him enough space to have his house and an accessory building on site as well. But we do agree that the building with its color and its height, it's really visible and quite of a concern. But there's no part in our subdivision regulations. And in fact, not just the city of Nacogdoches, most cities in the Texas and the United States basically cannot regulate the color of a barn. But we have talked to him about the color, and he's willing to do some modifications to make it fit into the neighborhood. We did a reconnaissance survey of the area, and we realized that he's not the only one with an accessory building, just that his is a little bit higher than most of the accessory structures on site within the neighborhood. But we are still in negotiation to see how best we can work with him on that. But this is the first stage, combining the two lots into one, because you cannot have an accessory building on a lot that has not any existing building on site. To be able to have an accessory building, there should be a primary residence on site. Okay. So combining these two lots would give him the chance to keep that accessory building. But moving forward, we will work with him on making any modifications that we believe will bring about any kind of satisfaction to his neighbors. If the applicant thinks he has anything in mind, he's free to say it now. But for now, we are dealing with the plating, but we are going to deal with that moving forward.
So the red building is a recent addition,
It's a recent addition.
and
yeah.
you got some remediation plan in place for the
Yeah,
permitting?
we are going to fine him for building without the permits. In our consultation with him, we realized that he's not somebody who he's not always available in town. So we do believe his story that he contracted it out to some contractors in Louisiana. They came in over the weekend and built without getting a permit. So right after this, we are going to deal with him later with regards to getting his permits and paying all the fees that is that comes with it. But the red color, I do agree, it's quite unique and not really appealing. But we don't regulate color. But we have talked to him that in as much as we do respect his property rights, we also would request him to do development that will harmonize well with surrounding users. And he has talked to us about trying to do something about the color and anything that will bring about some sort of peaceful accordance with his neighbors.
Okay. Thank you.
Is
One
there,
question.
oh, go ahead.
Would the people in the neighborhood be willing to help him buy some paint to meet the color that he needs? That they
Well,
would design?
we have talked to people concerning that, but I think we did talk to the applicant, and he did assure me he was going to do something. So if you don't mind, I can bring him up here to see if, I mean, of course, we can't force him to change the color of the building. That is a fact. We don't regulate.
Sounds like it's outside the scope of this.
Exactly.
board.
It's just
Yeah.
for a plot. Yeah. Yeah. So we can't force him to change the color, but if he decides to do anything just to, have a peaceful relationship with his neighbors, then he's welcome to do it. Yeah.
There's no, and again, this might be outside the scope, but there's no property owners association in this neighborhood, is that correct?
To the
As
best
far
of
as
our
you know?
knowledge, we tried to look into that.
Yeah.
We did. We asked them about the HAO, and I did talk to some residents about any HAO. Nobody has been able to provide any
Right.
concrete documents.
And there's no restrictions that would prevent this.
And we as a city cannot enforce
Right.
HAO regulations.
Right, that's,
So,
I was just gonna
yeah.
say,
Yeah.
it's gonna be
Yeah.
a property owner to property owner.
Sure. So we always recommend to citizens that if any resident is doing something that is contrary to your HOA rules, you have the right to deal with him in a legal way.
That's right.
So, yeah.
Thank you. In the back, sir, would you like to speak?
I'm David Macias. I live directly across the street from the property that we're looking at. We just moved in about a year and a half ago, and from the time that we've been here, the home, as far as I'm concerned, that the property value's got to go up from the way it was prior to the Kinmans purchasing the home. And I mean, we're thankful that the Kinmans have purchased the property and the barn. I mean, even everybody calls it a barn, but the building, it's just a building. The color is red, but I don't see any problem with it. I can see it from, directly from my front porch door, and it doesn't bother me one bit. I feel like the Kinmans bring value to our little neighborhood there, and as far as I'm concerned, he's brought the property value up from where the home was to the current state that it's in. The yard is better kept. The outside of the house it's being improved majorly.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
Any other, in the back, sir?
My name is Fred Green. I want to hit on what he did. We've been there since 1990. About the last 8 years, I can't tell you how many times the police came across the street to that house. The people, when they left that house, it was a total wreck. This couple had put nearly a whole new inside in that house. The building was up before I ever saw it. I guess it'd been there for a while. It doesn't bother me. Maybe a different color, yeah, but this is what they chose. And for what I know, they met all the requirements when they were okay to build it. But like I say, I'm glad to have, like he said, I'm glad to have somebody there to bring that property value back up, because it was pitiful. So he's a good neighbor, and I'm glad to have a good neighbor there. And I know some people that don't like the color and the size, but it's that man's property, and apparently he didn't break any rules when he put it up there.
Sure. Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name's Dave Cooper. I live right across the street from the Red Barn or something. And Mike, they're good people. They have definitely improved this house. It was an old drug house. I don't think that's the issue here. The issue, as I understand it, is we're taking two lots and making them into one. So what we always thought was going to be a single-family dwelling built on this one lot, it won't be. There's a big red metal barn there now. I mean, the rest of the subdivision is nice brick homes, and we have this. I came home one day and it was just built up that fast. Bright red barn, that the roof is white, reflects off, bothers some people. I mean, I think that's the big issue here. In a way, if I'm understanding the proceedings, this is all about combining these two lots to one lot. There'll never be a house built there, am I correct? We just have to look at this
I believe that is a correct assessment.
big metal barn is my issue. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I also want to stress on the fact that the accessory building can never be used for habitation. It will just be a workshop or anything like that. If the applicant tries to convert it into a home to rent out to any other person, then that would be a big violation in the city ordinance. So it's just going to be a workshop like he intended it to be and nothing else again. So, yeah.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I live on Cherry Brook. What's your name? Diane Williams. We live on Cherry Brook, and I can see the building from catacornered from our backyard. He's got the property fenced with a nice high fence. It's a brand-new building. We also are new in the neighborhood, and I see no problem with it.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Ann Goff. I live at 1721 Springbrook, and my lot is next to that building. So my lot is higher than the Red Barn. So when the sun is out, you can bake cookies on my wall just from the glare of the building. I mean, I can see more than half of the building from standing in my driveway. Double car, you know. And I'm glad they're in the neighborhood. I know they've improved the house. Yes, I agree with that. It's just when I came home, like in a few days, this massive red barn with a white roof was sitting next to me. It was kind of a shocker.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other petitioners? Yes, sir.
You asked earlier about the association, and I've been there since '91, and when we first moved there, we were told we couldn't even have a greenhouse, the association. We couldn't build any little outbuilding. It had to be attached to the house. And I don't know whether it's still active or not. That was a long time ago, but that's just for your information.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Donna Shannon. I live on Ridgebrook, directly across the street, and I have absolutely no problems.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ron Jones. I live on Cherry Brook. Mike and Mary are taking what was an eyesore and turning it into a very nice, Ron Jones, turning it into a very nice and valuable piece of property. I have absolutely no objection.
Thank you. At this time, if there's no further comment, I'd like to call for a motion to approve. Yes.
Before that, I want to put it on the records that after this plat is approved, we will still go ahead and re-inspect the building and then fine the applicant for building without a permit. We will look at everything like from the scratch, how the building was placed on site, setbacks and all of those things, and then let him pay all the applicable fees.
That's a code enforcement.
That's code enforcement, yeah. We're
so
gonna
it's
do
outside
that. So
the
I
scope
just,
of
I
this
just want the
meeting.
residents to rest assured that
Yeah.
we don't allow people to build without permits.
Sure.
Because he built without a permit, we are going to fine him and do everything like every other citizen has to go through.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Yes, sir.
If he had applied for a permit, would it have been granted to build that building?
Sir, could you come up here,
Dave Cooper.
and what's your name again?
Dave Cooper. If a permit had been applied for, would it have been granted to build that building?
He would have been given, a permit to build a building if he had gone through this process first. So he had to do the combination first before getting the permit.
But the size
Yeah,
or the
exactly.
metal building, none of that's a problem?
With the size of this, then that wouldn't be a problem. So he did the building before doing it. That is why we are going to fine him for doing that first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve or reject?
I will make a motion that we approve this plat as presented in front of us.
A second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carried. Thank you. At this time, I'll adjourn this meeting. Thank you for coming, everybody. Meeting adjourned.